Hello and welcome, listeners, to That's a Good Card. I'm Yaw, and with me is the best fantasy football analyst I personally know, Kyle. And he's going to have the challenge of getting me to say, That's a good card. I feel like it's been a while since I've done one of these. While Kyle will be doing the convincing, I'll be playing the devil's advocate. Now is also a good time to remind you to hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to us. If you have thoughts that differ from the two of us, leave a comment below to let us know. Or make a suggestion for the card you think can change the CEDH meta today. All right, Kyle, what did you bring to us?
You did a great job. It has been a long time since you
I know it.
since you read
It
the
has.
intro.
I'm like,
It's been a
whoa.
while because I feel like I always do all the intros for all of our guest podcasts, and then we just recently, the last week's episode, I introed. So it's probably been like a month and a half
Yeah,
ish since you've read
almost.
our intro. Great work. Now everybody knows for sure, no matter what. I think sometimes we sound very robotic, like we say the same things over and over again, but you mix it up every time. So everybody knows you don't say the same thing. I always think that maybe people think that we use like a sound bite for the intro. Nah, we read it every time.
No, 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 no. Every single time.
It's slightly different every single time. Anyway, before I get into my card, let's start off with the Discord community highlight. So this week's Discord community highlight is highlighting a new channel we have in the Discord, which is the non-CEDH formats channel, which started because of a conversation that came off of a video posted to our other contents channel. Basically, Zach from Far North MTG posted some Pauper EDH, or was it regular Pauper? I think it's Pauper EDH
Mm-hmm.
to his channel in the contents tab, and then it kind of just sparked conversation about Pauper and Pauper EDH because I'm a freaking noob when it comes to other formats. So I don't really know what's going on. I literally don't play anything besides CEDH. And anytime people ask me to play things that are not CEDH, I almost always decline. Like 99.9% of time, I try to like just convince them to play CEDH instead. But for whatever reason, earlier this week, I was just thinking to myself, you know what? Let's hear what people have to say about these things. And it started this massive conversation about Pauper and Pauper EDH. And I was not prepared. All I said at the start was just like, link me Jund Pauper good shit to somebody. And then I think it was Jorge.
Yeah, of
And then
course.
like I ended up tagging Thomas, Zach from Partner MTG, obviously, Crazy Axe, Vakita Azul, and Delver eventually from our Discord community, and it just ended up being this massive conversation about Pauper EDH. And then I should shout it out because I know Delver wants me to play it so bad. It's like tiny heroes, tiny
Tiny leaders.
commanders,
Tiny
tiny
leaders.
leaders. Oh,
Tiny
I was
leaders.
so
I got you.
close. Just butchered the shit
Tiny
out of that.
leaders.
There's so if you're interested in any sort of other non-CEDH or like Magic formats, hop into that channel to have a conversation. I did say that the first person to get me to play something, get proof of me playing a format that's not CEDH, wins a prize. So I don't know what the prize is because it's probably not going to happen. But for anyone who's ever interested, check that channel out. It's a lot of fun. All right. That was our Discord community highlight.
All right, Kyle. What did you bring today?
So today's card is long time coming. We have talked about this card on the channel so many times. And people are on the edge of their seats. If we didn't put the name of the card in the title, they'd be like, "Oh my god, are they doing Abhorrent Oculus finally?" No, we're
No.
not. Got them. But what we are doing is a card called Trickbind. It is 1 in a blue for an instant spell. It reads Split Second. As long as this spell is on the stack, players can't play spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. Counter target activated or triggered ability. If a permanent's ability is countered this way, activated abilities of that permanent can't be played this turn. Mana abilities can't be targeted. All right, so Trickbind is a super interesting card. Like I said, we talked about it a million different times in this podcast. I think it's one of like the earliest things we talked about way back when we talked about Tashana's Tidebinder as a
Yeah.
card.
Yep.
That's a good card. But yeah, why don't you take us through where we're seeing this in competitive lists? How successful is it? What's the meta share? All that good stuff.
The usual is kind of happening for Moxfield. It's in a bunch of lists. Well, the usual there. But competitively, when we look at tournaments with 64 or more people, it's included in 141 decks. 11 of those decks have made the top cut,
Hmm.
and one deck has won an Arkham Daxon list somewhat recently.
And this is I think a filter of 3 months, right?
Yes, within the last 3 months. Yes, correct.
Last 3 months, 141 total decks, 11 top cuts, and one win is honestly more than I thought for 3 months. That's pretty good.
Yep. And then the decks that we see this in are Kefka, Arkham Daxon, Tivit, Kinnan, Timna Thras, Talion, and then shout out to Matt Hayes, who made an invitation and is a listener of this podcast, I know for a fact, in his Timna Crom list. I think one of the few that I'm aware of
Yeah.
running and finding
Playing in
success as well.
TNK.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out Matt Hayes. That guy's a good player. Never had the chance to play against him. Hopefully one day I will.
I did. I played against him.
You
He played a
did?
Kinnan list.
That's sick.
He played
Nice.
Kinnan. Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, I mean, the only other decks I could think of that might play this would be like an Urza list, but I don't see a lot of Urzas, sticking around these days. But when I think of Trickbind, I think of it as like a mono blue player pod. So if there's
Yeah.
other fringe mono blue commanders, like Thought Adele probably plays it. I don't know. I bet you that they would include it in their list as well.
One of the top cut decks that's included that I didn't mention because you never hear about this card is a blue mono blue commander, Edgar, King of Figaro. It's a new Final Fantasy one that
Oh.
likes when you flip coins and then
Ooh,
the
why don't
first
you
time
read it? Because I have no idea what that card is. That's kind of cool.
Edgar, King of Figaro, is 6 mana total. It's 4 generic, 2 blue pips. This is why you probably haven't heard of it. When Edgar enters, draw a card for each artifact you control.
Mm.
And then it also has 2-headed coin. The first time you flip one or more coins each turn, those coins come up heads and you win those flips. And then Sabin, let's settle this with a toss of a coin is the flavor text.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it guarantees that you win a coin flip. That's the card.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I wonder,
Interesting in
and
a
it's
mono
mono
blue.
blue.
Yeah, in mono blue. It's actually really interesting.
I would love to see what that list looks like. So if anybody has heard of that deck in the comments below, explain it to me and what they're trying to do, because that sounds really interesting. But apparently it made a top cut, you said?
It
In
made a
tournament?
top cut out of
Wow.
71 people. So it's
Damn. Okay,
decent
so it's
enough
got
size.
legs.
No,
It's
no,
got
it's a decent
legs.
enough
Hell
size.
yeah.
It made top
Shout
16.
out that deck.
Yeah.
Shout out that deck for sure. All right, yeah. Are you ready for me to get into my points
Yeah,
for
let's do it.
Trickbind? Like I said, long time coming. And I'm going to start off as a preface to this. Everybody knows I'm a Corval player. That's all I do, really. Like 90% of games I play, probably 95% of games I play. When I am not playing Corval,
He
I
plays full control.
love playing full control Talion. That is my second list. It is my baby. I absolutely love it. I'll link my lists in the Mox field down below. Not gonna lie to you, okay? Not to flex or anything, but after I started recording my games again recently, I am 6-1 in my last 7 games on my Talion list, which is actually fascinating. I'm like, dang, I've won 6 out of the last 7 games I've played Talion. Maybe I should be a control player. But I play Trickbind specifically in that Talion list, and I feel out of the probably 30 cards dedicated to control, I feel like it is the most impactful card every single game I play. I really do. So I'm super excited to finally have this conversation because there are two sects of people. Everybody knows this, right? There is a line in the sand. There are people who do not like Trickbind, and there are people who love Trickbind. I am on the side of loving Trickbind, and I hope after my points and after this podcast, I bring those non-believers to the side of Trickbind because holy crap, the card is game warping because it is so like different from what the meta is normally used to, especially, and this will be my first point, especially against really, really strong players who have a great understanding of the meta. So that's my first point. This card is super effective against really good players. And the reason why is because really good players have a great understanding of your deck the majority of the time. They know what you are likely to be playing, right? And of those things that are likely to be in your deck, what potential interaction you could have, right? And because Trickbind is not seen often, it's almost a meme in the way. And I would be remiss if I did not mention Stifle in this same category. And I will read Stifle because it's slightly different from Trickbind. And we've also talked about Stifle multiple times in the podcast,
Yep.
but it's just one blue pip for an instant, counter target activated or triggered ability. Mana abilities can't be targeted. So it doesn't have the like stopping the ability from being activated again for the rest of the turn, and then it doesn't have the split second, right?
Yep.
But it's only one blue pip, so it's cheaper. That being said, so going back to my initial point, when you're playing against really, really good players, they are expecting and they are sequencing based off of what potential answers you have for them. And 99.999% of the time, they're going to go the path that is least affected by what they think that you have. So they are going to try to use activated abilities, big payoff activated abilities or big payoff triggered abilities to get them to where they want to be. And that's where Trickbind comes in clutch, comes in key. Sometimes, I mean, this is pretty common where people invest so much into a big activated or triggered ability, right? And they say, like, any Trickbinds or like any stifles, like as a joke. It is not a joke how you can blow people out with this card. And it is just an excellent way to diversify your means of interaction, diversify the way that you can stop somebody from winning the game, right? It's not just counterspell, 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 counterspell. Because one Allosaurus Shepherd and oops, you're screwed. That's not going to help you. So it's very good to diversify the way that you can control the game when you are playing control. And I think it also feeds into mid range to a lesser extent. But I think mid range decks, and shout out for Matt for trying this in Blue Farm, like mid range control decks, not just full control decks, can also benefit from the same thing. So if you're trying to slow people down, you're trying to make sure you don't lose the freaking game, having a different type of ammunition that's super effective against whatever is really, 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 really strong. That's my first point. Yeah. Any thoughts on that and how effective it is against good players?
That totally tracks, especially with the way I know you love to kind of evaluate a card. Is like, this is such a ultimate gotcha, right? As we kind of highlighted early when we introduced it, like it's not
Yeah,
run that much.
I don't like that you call it an ultimate gotcha, though. That seems like a backhanded compliment. It seems like a slight. So many people hate gotcha cards, so it sounds like a slight.
But
So
like,
I disagree. It's not a gotcha
no, it
card.
is though. It really is, because I feel like counter spells in general kind of are though, right? Like they're always like gotcha. It's the
Not
way the cards
all.
kind of go, and especially with split second, like it's like up there with like, you're not going to do anything about this. Go ahead.
I see. I kind of see it more of it not as necessarily like a gotcha, like a policeman like catching a robber in the act, right? It's not like that. That's what a counterspell is, right? What this one is like, in like every like cop show or detective show ever, where they like the main detective really outthinks the bad guy and is like sitting in the room waiting for them. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we knew your every move and we got you, murder guy, or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're laughing right now, listeners. Yeah, is like dying laughing. You might not hear any audio, but he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
No,
Like
exactly.
that's
No,
trick bind. It's like I was playing 4D chess, you were playing 3D chess. It's like the ultimate gotcha. Oh wait, that's
so
exactly what you said.
so what you're saying is like the your first point now is that this is like essentially letting your opponent's monologue, like in
Exactly.
there
Like from
you
the
let them
Incredibles.
monologue,
Yeah.
you let them
You sly
monologue,
dog.
and then
You caught me monologuing.
you boom, you get them.
Got it with the trick bind. Okay, whatever. It kind of is. I'll give you. I don't want it to be because I don't want the negative connotation behind it. Like, I guess there's more of a negative. Do you think there's more of a negative connotation behind saying it's a gotcha card or saying it's a silver bullet? Probably silver bullet,
Silver
right?
bullet to me,
Okay, yeah, it's
right?
definitely not a silver bullet.
Because
And
silver bullet,
and
I
some
think
people
of
might think,
Angel's Grace right away, which I don't really think of like that,
I
right?
see
But
another split second card.
that's
Well,
going to be another card that's also diversifies people,
now
like
you've
really
brought out
splits
all
people.
the
That really
Angels
splits.
Grace enjoyers
That'll
that are
really
going to be
split
in the
some people.
comments.
Anyways,
That's a really highly recommended card on our spreadsheet as
yeah.
well, by the way. Anyway, all right. My second point, which is going to be kind of I'm flowing into it as a counter to your point where you're saying, it's just like kind of like a counter spell where it's a gotcha card, right? Well, guess what? It's proactive too, in a sense,
Go ahead.
because You can counter detrimental delayed triggers that would have a negative effect on you, which is sick. So, for example, you can trick bind your Final Fortune delayed trigger to lose the game so you don't lose the game. Boom, that's sick. You can also, yeah, you look like you're about to say something.
Continue first. I'll bring my point up in a second.
Okay. You can also counter the One Ring or a Mana Vault or anything that's a delayed trigger or a general trigger that's going to deal damage to you. So you can save yourself from getting hit a damage that could potentially kill you. And that's way more relevant than you might think. Let me tell you that. Same thing for all the pacts, right? So like if you have to pay for your pact of negation and you have a trick bind in hand, you could just counter the pay for pact and negation and not pay 5, but instead pay a sweet, sweet discount of 2 so that you still have your 3 mana available to cast your Thoracle Console. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of cool things that might end up killing you that you can stop with a trick bind. So it not only like gotchas other people, but you can use it to protect yourself from something very, very, very bad, like losing the game from happening, right? And in this vein, as a mini point on the opposite, like flip side of this, that I have seen a lot. So I play this in my Italian list. If you've pulled up the list, if you look at the list, it is very life total matters focused.
Oh, yes,
right?
very much. I'm aware. Yes.
So I am loving Blood Chief's Ascension. I'm hitting people with Talion. I play Shieldred in the 99. Like a Rug of Smothering comes in and out of the deck depending on how I'm feeling. I really, really have found myself in situations where my opponents are like sub 5 life and like a Shieldred trigger on the stack. Like let's say they're at 2 life, they draw for their turn. There's a Shieldred trigger on their stack and they're trying to like win through that, right? I have seen and been in situations where I have to trick bind a food token being munched on to keep somebody alive or a Deathrite Shaman healing to keep somebody alive. You could trick bind both of those. Yep. So if there's a detrimental effect that's going to happen, I think one of the most recent ones, oh my gosh, he's going to make another appearance. Connor, the Zul'Adok player.
We can't escape him.
One of the games that he's playing Listola, I had Trick Bind, and it was literally the only, he had like a full group of cards, and I'll talk about that a little later. Trick Bind was the only thing that was like stopping him from dying to his own the One Ring, I believe. I think he was trying to flicker the One Ring, something like that. He's going to correct me. But basically, Trick Bind was the only possible thing that could stop him from stopping himself from dying by like not taking a trigger that would kill him. Anyway, that's a long thing. I think he was trying to flicker his One Ring so that it wouldn't have 5 burden counters on it so that he would take 0 instead of take 5 and die. So Trickbind was able to stop him in that situation from keeping himself alive. So it kind of works really, really well in tandem with a life loss matters list, which is why it's so freaking good at my Italian list. But that's my second point is just being able to counter detrimental delayed triggers has a benefit, and it's a bigger benefit than you might think. Thoughts on that?
My only thought was more of a question with a very specific situation, which really didn't. That's why I didn't like bother stopping you in the moment. You can't trick bind it until that gets on the stack, right? Like the Final Fortune. This is what I'm thinking.
Oh yeah,
going into your Final Fortune turn, right? Somebody holds up a silence.
Oh yeah, you're still dead to silence.
Screwed. Okay, good.
Yeah,
okay, just making sure.
Silence.
Like that trigger doesn't happen until the end step. Right?
No, it does
like,
not.
Okay,
it's
cool.
a delayed trigger that says, "Do you lose the game if this resolves?" And you go,
losing the game.
Yes.
You're losing the game. Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool. That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure. I'm positive this is, but just in case.
Yeah. And
cool.
Judges let us know there is another like Fringe scenario I was thinking about when it comes to detrimental triggers. And I would love to get a judge ruling on this. This came up in the most recent tournament I played. So everybody on the edge of your seats here, all the rules lawyers out there. There was an instance where I attempted to, I suck at the game. All right. So please be nice. I was playing Corvold, attempted to animate dead a Clever Impersonator from one of my opponents. Clever Impersonator is like a 4-mana clone, basically clone anything. It's a creature though. I animate dead it. I choose to have it enter as a Smothering Tithe. Yeah, I know. So, for those of you who know what's going to happen in this scenario, basically, I didn't realize that what would happen and what the judge ended up ruling was that animate dead, since it's an aura, cannot be attached to a non-creature. So because it was a smothering tithe and it was attempting to be attached to the smothering tithe, the judge ruled that the animate dead would have the delayed trigger, so it would not be connected. It would go to the graveyard. It would have the delayed trigger to sacrifice the clever impersonator smothering tithe. And even though in the text of the delayed trigger itself, it says to sacrifice this creature, there's another ruling that was pulled up that said when something along, I don't want to say, it's not verbatim, but basically, if characteristics of the object were to change in regards to the delayed trigger, it would still affect that object. So even though it was not a creature anymore, it was an enchantment, the trigger was still pointing at that enchantment. So then it was sacrifice, right? Is there a world where if I had a trick bind that was Praetor's Grasp, I'm just as just pure musing, I could have trick bound the delayed trigger of the animate dead sacrifice to stop the smothering tithe clever impersonator from forcing itself to sacrifice, and then I would have a clever impersonator smothering tithe via animate dead. I think so, right?
Yeah, because it is a trigger, right? Because it reads as when animate dead leaves the battlefield, right? So it is a trigger. So I think so, but somebody will let us know if we're wrong.
Yeah, crazy. Anyway, I probably just sent half of you to sleep and sent half of you guys to the comments to explain what's going on. So thank you. Anyway, I think it's kind of cool that in those kind of create like that's the example I'm trying to give is like crazy fringe scenarios like that occur in Magic games. They really
Very
do.
much so. Very much
And
so. Yeah.
Trickbind can be a way for you to, maybe fix a punt. I don't know. Oh, that's my second point. My third point is that it stops win cons, a lot of win cons, post commitment of the win con. Most common win con in the game right now is Thassa's Oracle. You can trick bind to Thassa's Oracle, ETB. Guess what? They don't win the game. That's pretty good. That is the most linear face up way to play the card and what people probably think about, right?
Mhm.
There's other commanders that are activated ability centric that are win cons in themselves, right? Sisse, Magda come to mind. Kinnan even, Thrasios, even a Tivit time sieve activation to get them to go into their infinite turns, right? There are a ton of commanders that have to commit a bunch of mana, a bunch of resources into this huge payoff activation. And the only way that you're going to stop them, majority of the time, without having a silver bullet piece like a containment priest or something like that, right? That's a good card, by the way. Is a trick bind or a stifle effect, right? And notice that the reason I think trick bind got this podcast and not stifle is because half of those lists are control-ish, like mid to mid-range control-ish, and have a counter spell suite of 13 counter spells, right? Stifle won't get through, especially for those people who are already pushing for a win with these activations. They've already drawn cards, they've already developed their engines, right? Trickbind gets through, stops these mid-range to mid-range control lists from being able to win the game after forcing them to use all of their resources to do so, to commit themselves. So because it comes in post-committal, I think it's a really, really, really powerful tool to stop people. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
No, I love that part, right? It's like being able to sit and wait, right? And let them really get all of those resources out of the way, and committed, like you've been saying. Like I really just like this point. There's nothing there's nothing against this point for me.
Yeah. And yeah, while we're on this topic, if there's any other, I mean, there's a lot of fringe win cons that get stopped by this. I don't think it stops food chain because I think food chain is a mana ability, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, comments. It does stop like a Protean Hulk line very easily. So like you on the death trigger Protean Hulk, you can just be like, hee trick bind, you don't get your things, right? Y'all, can you think of any other like maybe like a blood artist line?
Blood
We
artists,
kind of see
planeswalker
those.
lines
Ooh,
through Dahada.
Planeswalker lines
Yeah.
is a big one. Yeah, just make a Dahada cry. Yeah. But there's a lot of wins through activated abilities. And the reason why there's so many wins through activated abilities is because we're in such a control heavy meta with Rhystic Study and Mystic for more and all that stuff, right? Which leads me into my last big point before I get into my fringe point, which is that there are these massive hand control players that hate this one trick bind. Split second, right? It's like
Yep.
we couldn't like look. This ain't a tag C podcast if we're not just talking about how great split second is. There's by the end of our
Broken.
careers, I think we'll have talked about every single split second card in CEDH because it's just so powerful to lull people into a false sense of security. Who has this massive hand? Who thinks that they can't be stopped? They can't do anything. They can do no wrong. This is their window. This is their time because they have 4 pieces of backup. And guess what? Don't matter. I don't care that you have 4 counter spells in your hand. I'm still stopping you. You have a response? Oh no, you can't respond. Ha. Okay, cool. Unless you're doing a crazy Pila Pala line, because it's a mana ability, a tap on tap, tap on tap, or something like that, then it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But under these circumstances, under 99.9999% of circumstances, you're flipping the double birds to the massive hand control players that think that they're just 1v3ing the table and can do no wrong, you know? And I'm sure we've all played tournaments against those kinds of players that are just like, oh yeah, no matter what you do, I could stop. I could do everything. I'm controlling the table. I got this bravado about me. And guess what? If you want to take that player down a notch, play Trickbind. If there's a player at your local LGS who plays Blue Farm and just like constantly draws 8 billion cards and is just like, oh yeah, I got all these answers. Like you guys might as well concede instantly. Get him with the trick bind.
Hit him with the trick bind.
Oh, that Thoracle consult. Oh, you have no library. Oh, guess what? Now you lose. Hee hee. Got him.
That's a good one.
Any thoughts on that? On the idea of like it being just a great answer for people who just have the world in their hands.
I mean, I think this is like the not dream scenario, but like the scenario most people think of when they look at this card, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
like I like there's nothing they can do about it. All I have to do is save up the mana for it, which is really not that bad at all things considered, especially for how powerful Split Second is. Like, and as a Split Second card, it's one of the cheaper ones that you're going to be able to find. So,
Yeah,
not bad at all.
big true. And my last fringe point. This is big. You play against Kenrith in your meta often. I
Yeah,
meme on Atlas, who in the Pacific Northwest and honestly in the world might be one of the best Kenrith players, if not the best Kenrith player, in my opinion. I've never played against a Kenrith who's better, in my opinion. Sorry to all the other Kenriths I played against, but it is what it is. Anyway, I think there's a really fringe point where this is really, really good against Kenrith specifically, because Kenrith a lot of times tries to win by generating infinite mana, putting 100,000 draw triggers targeting all their opponents, right? They have to pass priority to do so. When that happens, you can trick bind one of them targeting you. It doesn't matter, right? And then what ends up happening is because Kenrith can't then activate on top again, right? Normally it wouldn't matter because they would just keep activating over the top, but Trickbind stops them from continuing to activate. Now you have 100,000 draw triggers targeting you, right? Yeah, think about a scenario where that happens. You Trickbind one, crack E zone,
yeah, it's pretty good.
draw a card. Does that help me win? No. Draw a card.
Nope.
Does that help me win? Draw a card. Does that help me win? Oh, that's helpful. I'll play this. Draw a card. Does that help me win? You get access to your entire deck at instant speed. Win a
Yeah.
game.
You're like, oh, thanks.
Thanks, Gunnar. I really appreciate that. Thanks for helping me draw the deck at the exact speed that I want to. You know, of course, that's super fringe. You have to have Trick Bind and Emergent Zone, or Trick Bind and Born Upon the Wind, or Valley Flood Caller, or something like that, so that it actually matters, or Hive Day Trickster. But it's not crazy for that to happen.
True.
And the fact that you can stop it, and sometimes what ends up happening, I've seen this as well, depending on the Kenrith pilot, they won't like hold priority. So they'll be like, I'll do 100,000 draw triggers at you and then watch the person die, right? And be like, okay, you lose, you're out. And then I'll do 100 draw triggers at you. You know what I mean? They do it like one at a time because they think it's safer. It's that if that's the case, you can just straight up save yourself because you're like, okay, do you pass on 100,000 draw triggers on player C? Do you pass? You press priority? Okay, on me, trick bind, right? And then like, okay, cool. Now you cannot win on your turn, right?
Right.
You know, there's obviously a world where if they're able to continue to generate infinite mana, then they go to the next turn and then they just win on top or just blast everybody. But
Yeah.
you never know. So anyway, that's my Fringe point. I think it's kind of fun. If there's ever a deck that makes you just like infinitely draw your deck, then guess what? You can stop it from happening. It also stops endurance loops, which is kind of cool.
No, for sure. I think that the other thing that I don't think you mentioned, I think that especially in this meta right now with a lot of these semi blue decks that are kind of floating around and they rely on these cascade effects.
Mhm.
Like most of the reason that people really enjoy the cascade, including sowing Micah Spawn, right, is that these abilities are normally really uninteractable with
Yeah.
just like activated abilities. This really kind of stops that. Now, with some of these, it only stops one iteration, I'm pretty sure, of Cascade. Like Call Forth the
Yeah.
Tempest has Cascade, Cascade. You're only going to
Yeah.
get one of them, but
Yeah.
that might still be enough.
No, but the
Uh,
sowing Mycospawn is super relevant. If a
right?
Rog Thras sowing Mycospawns just to get their cradle, you know I'm ripping the trick
It's
bind. Yeah,
yeah,
no cradle for you. Do not. Do
right.
not pass go. Do not collect 200 green mana. It's like,
Yeah, whatever it may be.
all right, that's my
Uh,
last point. Yeah, let's get into
yeah.
the downsides. I probably took a million years to do that, but I love
No,
this
you're good.
card, so let's hear them.
Okay, I think the for me the first one with this and this type of effect in general is that my downside for this is like sometimes potentially just delays the inevitable. If that player has all of the committed or has all the resources already, especially with like a Ciceri, maybe less so with a Magda, they now just know like, okay, cool. I just have to also stall the game because, and you mentioned this, they're a mid-range deck. They have their resources. They held interaction potentially. They just know, okay, cool. They'll stop what they're going. They're not going to push any further. They're just going to try to hold their mana to get to another turn,
Mhm.
right? And it potentially just delays the inevitable, right? Like, do you have a second stifle? Do you have a second one? I think that's why these decks are popular. Is that okay? I get stopped once. I just wait till I can do it again, or I
Yeah,
go into a Final Fortune turn.
that's true. I did just lose the finals to a Magda that had Magda die 3 times and ended up paying 8 mana, or one was Command Beacon, so it ended up paying 6 mana for a Magda and still won the game as Magda. So I get what you're saying. Like
Right.
they just keep trugging along. Like they just like keep slamming their head against the table until they like eventually win. So those like and Sisse is very similar in that sense. You know what I mean? Like they just keep generating, just keep going, keep trying, keep trying, keep trying, keep trying until they get there. So
Yeah.
I do like that point. The decks that generally win through those activations, like Sisse and Magda, like they're built to just be resilient in that
Mm-hmm.
sense. And like just okay, rebuild. Cool. Magda dies, rebuild. Cool. Sisse dies, do it again.
Yep. And I agree with you though. Like to rebuke my own point in a sense, like yes, the Thoracle type wins, those are great, right? Like that is a great like feeling. Like the Dahada lines where it's like if they've committed like a flicker already, like it may be real difficult for them to get that card back, right? Because it really
Yep.
can be reliant on getting a flicker effect onto Dahada. Now they are stuck with a Dahada still on the board. Like
Yeah.
that's not something like a Dahada wants. Again, it's a deck you see as often, but the meta is getting faster. I think going into my second point that this is I wrote down dead draw, but not a dead draw. It's just a card that I think will sit in your hand for longer than you want, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you play it right.
Absolutely.
If you play it correctly, right? I think that's the thing. It's like so it's almost more like a PSA. It's like if you're gonna play this type of card, you don't want to just like willy nilly like hit a I don't know fetch land um
That's
ability
true.
with this.
Not a mana ability. Oh, you can hit fetch lands. Huge.
Are you not familiar? Maybe you
How
didn't
did
weren't
how
into
what's that?
CEDH. Were you into CEDH at that point? There was a tournament where somebody famously
Oh, trick bound
hit
at fetch land?
somebody with like a trick bind or a stifle on a fetch land
That was
on turn
probably
one.
during the times where we just played with our friends only CDH, and I had no
Oh,
interest
okay,
or
okay,
like did not consume any content. Yeah,
okay, okay, okay.
but that's hilarious though. That's how you kill that. Was it against a Rog's Eye? Because like that's really funny, and I would
It
definitely
might have
do
been
that.
something like that.
Yeah,
You would.
yeah. It would be really
You-
funny. Like if they already have LED on board, and I'm like, they're definitely going for like a brain freeze type line early, like a underworld breach, and I'm like, this probably doesn't help very much against that. Okay, it gotcha.
because this card is so powerful, it may feel like if you're like new to it or you're new to CDH and you are like you listen to this and you run this type of card, I think the big thing I'm saying as a downside is that you can don't waste it. Don't hold
Mhm.
on to it for too long either, right? Like ask the board, like, hey, is this a game winning? Like wait for that game winning thing, right? Like all the situations that Kyle's mentioned, right? It's don't just willy nilly kind of throw it out there towards something that you you think like may be a benefit, but like holding it for a little bit longer is probably usually the right call.
No, and like I can speak on this really easily. Like there's been so many games where I draw trick bind like a second card for turn, or it's in my starting hand, and it sits in my hand all the way until it's stopped being a game winning play. And that's totally fine with me, to be honest. And a lot of times it's a great politicking tool, and it kind of like lowers people's defenses because after I use my last counterspell, I'll tell the table like that's my last counterspell. And then I say, it's like that's it. And then everybody thinks, oh, it's my window. Great, I can do the thing. And then I go trick bind, boom. So like it's one of those things where I actually feel safer, just anecdotally speaking. I feel
Mm,
safer with a trick bind in my hand than I do like a kill spell in my hand.
that's fair.
I really do.
That's
Just
fair.
because it's just like the kill spell is what it is. It can be fought over. Like it can be, it's not going to stop me. But with trick bind, I'm thinking to myself, like I have basically every line covered besides breach, right?
Yeah.
Besides breach, brain freeze. But even with breach, if the person decides to breach, brain freeze themselves, cast Oracle, you can still respond and trick bind the Thoracle. That being said, it doesn't matter because they have access to the rest of their deck. So they should, in theory, have like a clone. Please have a clone. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Agreed.
like
Yeah.
you should still be able, or brain freeze everybody else out. Like it doesn't really stop them unless you have help from friends. I don't know, from the rest of the table. So like that's the one line where it's like Trickbind does not help you. Like it makes it slightly more difficult, but it shouldn't stop them, right?
Yeah.
Everything else that we've talked about, so like Thoracle consult combos
Oh,
plus
easy.
the like the fringe stuff, like Protean Hulk, even like a Blood Artist effect line, like those kinds of things get stopped by it. So just for the turn for the Blood Artist line, I guess, unless something dies, but still untap. They attempt to do it. Somebody else has the answers. Boom, you're fine.
Yep.
Anyway, it's a good point. It's a good point.
My third one is it's kind of a feel. This is a vibe one. Like in a meta that is increasingly proactive, this card feels just exceptionally reactive.
Yeah,
And I know you talked about some positives of being proactive towards making sure that you don't lose the game due to your own delayed triggers
yeah,
or
yeah. Loss of
some
life. Yeah.
damage, right? Loss of life. Um, this is very much a card that is. I think that it's a card that is there to in case waiting for somebody else to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is more of a just character for me in terms of I have found myself routinely looking at cards and going, okay, well, does this push me forward, right? Whereas this card is, and this is, I think, the difference
Yeah,
between a
and it's
control
like
player and
that's a
non-control player.
yeah, that's a
This is
classic
not
argument. It's a
right. This is
classic argument.
not a card that really pushes me forward, and like, and this will kind of tie into my fringe point in a second here. Even though it's a really powerful card, I think an exceptionally difficult card to play.
Yeah, like I'll be completely transparent. I agree with the argument for turbo lists. If your deck runs like two pieces of interaction, right? Like I know people who are playing these like super turbo lists that they don't care. They're not even on Chain of Vapor or like into the Flood Maw and a Grixis pile because they're going so fast on wrong side or something like that. Who knows, right? Although you should probably be on Chain of Vapor, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah, I agree.
Because that's proactive. But like they're not on Into the Flood Maw, for example, right? Any deck that's going some pretty fast and they're like not on that kind of stuff because they're like, you know what? That's just I don't care. That's somebody else's problem. Like I get it. I get not wanting to try Trickbind. That being said, I think that Trickbind, the control players already know how powerful Trickbind is. The mid-range players need to get on it. If you have already put in slots into your deck to have counter magic and removal and board wipes, there should be a way for you to diversify even further by cutting one of those big pile of interaction slash control-y pieces and putting in a trick bind. There absolutely is room. And if you say you don't have room, you're wrong. There is always room. That's kind of the argument that I'm trying to push is like the mid-range decks need to get on it.
So are you saying potentially that this is powerful enough, and as you look at your counterspell suite, and or your interaction suite, I think is better. It's not
Yeah,
just
interaction
counterspell.
suite.
That it might be worth cutting potentially even some of the quote unquote free spells for this, like a
Potentially.
flare of denial, right? Like
Oh, I hate Flare the Denial. But
right,
yeah,
or
yeah.
Louis. I
Louis
mean,
Suisse Sacrifice, yeah.
yeah,
Like if you're considering playing Louis Suisse Sacrifice, I actually think Trickbind's better. Just like straight, plain
yeah,
and simple. Just
okay,
because the split second. So like yeah, for sure. In some decks, even something like a Force of Negation, depending on what your blue card count is, right? I think that there's a lot of people who are playing that card and probably should be playing that card. So there's worlds where that is. Offer You Can't Refuse is another good one, right? Where it's just like, it's one of those iffy counter spells. It's like sometimes you're on it. If you're a deck that's able to abuse it and like pack your own thing to make a, mana, and then you need treasures for whatever reason in a blue plus deck where treasures matter. I don't know. Is there any Dargo blue decks? Like, sure, whatever. Um, but that being said, like I just feel like when you look at the whole thing, right? Look at your whole interaction suite, whatever the worst card is in each slot, like potentially you're able to take something out and just put in a trick bind, right? If you're playing Path to Exile or whatever, and you like, maybe trick bind's better, Into the Floodbond, maybe trick bind's better. Just try it out. Once you feel how like you feel strong playing the card, like if it's in your hand, you feel like I feel safe. If I have a trick bind up, I feel safe, which is
hmm,
wild, right?
yeah.
But it's just how it is. When it stops, like it completely full stops the way that you lose the game the most in the current meta, you feel safe. And I feel like a Swords to Plowshares, even like I'm not saying cut it directly for Swords to Plowshares, but like the just anecdotal safety level I feel with having a swords in my hand versus a trick bind in my hand, night and day, night and freaking day. So that's
I can't
my
even tell
rebuttal.
the last time you played a deck with white in it.
Blue farm.
Oh, yeah. Actually,
Mhm.
it's rare that you play blue farm against me. I think
I don't normally play against you. No, that's my rebuttal.
my very last point is that I think that this is a card, and I think you feel so strongly about it because you're a pretty decent control player, right? Like playing a list like Talion, and
Thanks.
the thing is,
I
like
don't know if that
I
was a
think
compliment. Yeah,
it
you're
is.
pretty decent. Like
You're
what?
really decent because
Can you
control is
imagine telling that to a girl
exceptionally
at the bar?
difficult.
Yeah, that's how I
Oh,
judge
you're
it. I don't
oh
think that
okay,
was a
okay.
compliment.
That's why I never go to the. I didn't meet my wife at a bar. I'm being honest with you. I didn't pick her up. She picked me up. True story.
Okay.
Anyways,
Did she say you're pretty decent?
there is a story. I don't think she's gonna want me to share
Okay,
it.
no, never mind,
I'll
never
say
mind,
yeah.
never mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Control is exceptionally difficult to play. Like exceptionally difficult to play. I think is my big thing here. It is not, especially in CEDH, right? In 1v1, like being the control player is much easier, right? You only have one
Yeah, you have
opponent
one
to kind of
opponent.
worry about.
Yeah,
Whereas
blinders on.
here, like controlling three other players is just you really have to be okay. You have to be so okay not pushing yourself forward a good chunk of the time
It's budgeting.
by waiting, right?
It's
Like and
literally what
wait.
it is. Yeah, good control players, you have to budget how you're sending your like where you're sending your resources. Like, you have to think to yourself, like, I could stop this person, but if I stop this person, do I have enough to stop the next person and the next person?
Right.
How do I like what is the best sequencing of me to like to use my interaction in order to slow people down? Right. And sometimes that means doing quote unquote suboptimal plays at weird times. And I think that people get
And that's
mad because
really
they're like,
difficult, right?
"Huh? Like, what is going
Why
on
wouldn't you
here?
do this,
Like,
right?
why would you do this now?" And
Right.
as a control player, I get that all the time. Like, why are you countering my commander? I'm not doing anything. And it's like, because I know with the resources that I have currently in my hand, I need to just time walk you a turn so that I can better control you in the next go around. And that's part of the control game that a lot of people don't understand or have problems with because you have to make those awkward decisions. People fall too much into like what they consider to be, the right play all the
Mm,
time.
mm.
And as a control player, you have to do things based on the resources that you have available, not what is generally normal, right? Sometimes that means rubbing a commander. Sometimes that means swords to plowsharing something that seems irrelevant at the time, but it might be, getting somebody card draw and you're not able to keep up with them if you're keeping the other people down. It's a giant, beautiful game that you get to play. But anyway, shout out to everybody who plays Control. And if you haven't played Control before, try it because it's a hell of a drug.
Telling everybody, no,
No,
not right now,
yeah,
buddy.
no, no, no,
Nope.
smile. No, smile.
All right, I think it's time. Let's talk about the best points that we each made for and against Trickbind.
I think that your best point, honestly, is the delaying the inevitable is really real against certain decks, right?
Mhm.
Like I had said, I just lost to a Magda where Magda died 3 times. It's like some of these decks that are activated ability focuses, sure, you trick bind them one time, they're just coming right back at you. Knuckles is swinging in, making 4 treasures again, and you're in the same boat that you
And
were
you're
in
like,
before.
dang it. Knuckles, good card.
So yeah, Knuckles,
As
that's
it
a good
turns out.
card. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Is like, yeah, certain decks where you think they'd be the most potent are some of the most resilient decks. So I like that point. It's a good one. What point of mine do you think is the best point for Trickbind?
For me, and this is really telling of me as a player, is that it is more proactive than you think. The
Mm-hmm.
fact that you can use this as and I think this is such a great kind of like idea, is that it is a bail yourself out, right? It's not just like bail the game out,
Yeah,
it's a potentially bail yourself out.
for
And
sure.
I just really like that in terms of the versatility of the card, right? I know I just talked about how like it's kind of a dead draw, but like the game is moving so much towards all of these activated and triggered abilities, right? And sometimes, and I think this is the difficult part, is like sometimes even just denying one resource, right? One potential like smothering tithe trigger at the right time. And that's where it's difficult, right? Is knowing this person needs this one extra mana. And because there's so many games where one extra, whatever it may be, makes the big difference. One extra card draw. And knowing and having a feel for the game and having a card like Split Second is so powerful, right? It's not just like the big gotcha moments, like I said earlier. It's that I'm going to go ahead and deny this one smothering tithe trigger because I know that at this amount of like, there's no more card draws coming this way. That denying this extra mana really makes a big difference, right?
Mm,
And it's a really subtle card like that to me.
cool. All right, yeah, it's time. Were you convinced? Is Trickbind a good card?
I was totally going to say no up until that last moment when I talked myself into it
No.
because it's such
Wait. So say the
yes.
thing.
So it's
Yes.
a good card. It's a good card. It's a good card. Yeah, because to a bad player like myself, this can help bail you out. And that point kind of got me. I'm like, oh, so it kind of saves me a little bit when I go to a final fortune turn,
It saves me
and
from my
I
punts.
when I
Sick.
punt
Yeah.
right, like oh, I went to a final fortune turn without actually some of the resources I actually needed or whatever it may be. That's pretty
Yo,
good.
upside too, politically, if you play a pact and you can't pay for it, but you have
Or somebody
Trickbind in
else
your hand,
does.
yeah. And then you're like, oh, like I can't pay for my pact, like don't hit my stuff, right? And then it comes around to your turn, like untap, upkeep, Trickbind.
Trick
Ha.
mine,
It was a
right?
trick. I've bound you with my trick.
Actually,
Ha.
also relevant in going, hey Kyle, rip your pact. I can't pay for my pact. Rip
Yeah.
your pact. It's
Rip your
fine. I've
pact.
got you.
I got you, dog.
I will
You
make
will
sure you
not
do not
die to
die.
your
Yeah,
pact trigger. Yeah.
right.
As long as the
It's
cards in my hand are still in my hand, you will not
don't
die.
also you not need
Also,
not to
do not
don't
cast Wheel
wheel
of
me.
Fortune.
Yeah, please don't wheel me.
Like,
But yeah,
I got you,
trick mine.
dog.
That's a good card.
Yeah, that's a good card. Hell yeah, we got there. Shout out to all the Trickbind enjoyers in the chat here. Um,
I've got to dig mine out actually.
wow, we got there, y'all. I can't believe it. And also, shout out to everybody on the list who recommended Trickbind. So there's a bunch of people. Panda Boy 0713, Christian Lay 2519. On the spreadsheet, we got Cody. We got this cool guy named Kyle. It's me. But shout out to everybody who's recommended this card. I'm glad we got to do a podcast on it. All right, yeah. Lightning round.
Am I
Are
giving
you
you?
giving me decks? Is that how
I
this
think
works?
I think you give me decks.
We never know. Do we
We never
ever
know.
do the lightning round correctly?
Probably not. Probably not. Leave this in,
Why
right?
don't you give
We leave this.
why
Yeah,
not
I'll
why
give
don't you
you.
give me some decks? You give me some decks.
Okay, give me just
Since I'm
a
such
second.
a trick bind enjoyer, I'll have a good head on my shoulders for
You're
this.
gonna
You know
say
what I
every
mean?
one of these decks. Okay, let's just start off with. I think this is an easy loft. Blue farm.
8. I'm about to slot it into mine. I've convinced myself. See you later into the flood
Glarb.
maw. Oh, 12. 12. I would play Glarb. If I played Glarb, I would play it so controlly it'd be crazy. So 12.
Yuriko.
Ah, yeah, 8. I would say 8. That one is a little harder. Like, yes, it's 2 color, right? But
Yeah.
I would play my if I built a Yuriko list, I'd be doing big flips for days. And like, I think it's so hard. That's a weird deck, but I'll go 8.
Derevi.
Huh. Grevy's interesting. Gut reaction says 8 as well. I think that they play a lot of little dorky stuff that, they're probably on like Path to Exile and like, I don't know, like Veil, Autumn's Veil. No, probably not Autumn's Veil. They're on Veil of Summer, probably. I don't know. They could probably find a cut. I'm going to throw that out there. So shout out to Revy Pilots. Shout out Thomas. I think Thomas still plays Revy. I don't know.
Oh,
Ooh.
he does. Yes, he
Okay,
does.
cool.
He does. He still does. And then I think the big one is Rog Thras.
Oh, yeah. 9. 9. They play weird stuff anyway. You know what I mean? Like, you're
Very
playing
good.
weird stuff anyway. Just do it. Why not? Play it. It's so good. I would play it in my Rock Thrust list. I stopped playing Rock Thrust. I hit my 10. Well, I probably am at like 12 or 15 games with Rock Thrust, but I hit my limit and I said, that's it. I did the thing. I made Cradle Breakdance. Not the deck for me.
Okay, last one. Vivi.
I would play a really fast, like, egg VV. So, for honestly, like a 5. Just because, like, I think I would be playing it more
Turbo.
turbo than mid range. Like, I would be trying so hard to go fast if I played VV. But if I was playing like VV control, the 10, honestly, 10.
I'm thinking about slotting into my list of VV because I'm thinking about playing VV a little bit more like you played your old Niv list, just like more
That's
control.
full control, bro.
Full
My
control.
old
Yeah.
Niv list was full control. I was playing all the weird stuff, including Trickbind.
Yeah.
All right. That was
Yeah.
a cool
I like
lightning
it.
round. That was a cool
Yeah.
lightning round. Thanks, y'all. All right, y'all. It's time for our favorite closing segment. That's a good card, question mark. If you haven't played with us before, what we're going to do is I'm going to provide Ya with the name of an obscure Magic the Gathering card. And it's going to be Ya's job, as well as yours, the listener, to guess everything about that card. Color, type, text, flavor text, artwork, everything. Go ahead and pause the video after I say the name of the card and guess along with us. Shout out to all the Discord members who play along in the channel. Is that what that's called? Every time we make a new episode, there's like a chat room that we
Thread.
create. I
Thread.
don't know if that's
A
thread.
thread.
Is it really
Yeah.
called a thread?
A thread. It's
Interesting.
called a thread.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to everybody who plays along as we go, live tweeting essentially their guesses for that's a good card question mark. All right, y'all, you ready?
Yep.
Regent's Authority. Regent apostrophe S Authority.
You know what's funny? I'm pretty sure in the past, when looking for a card for you, when I random on Scryfall, and I know you didn't do that this time, I have seen this card, but I don't remember a thing about this card. Regent's Authority.
I guarantee you that you've seen this card before.
I'm almost positive I have.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, I'm just going to go on a whim. This is a Azorius card, blue white,
Okay.
because that's how I roll. We're going to go one hybrid, blue white, one blue
Okay.
white, blue white. Like, that's the thing. I know I'm wrong here. It's a creature, human, cleric, Regent's Authority. Yeah,
Okay.
creature, human, cleric. It's gonna be a 1/4 because I don't know why. Like those are always
It's
like
thick.
clerics are thick, right?
Yeah.
They're sturdy. It's a human 1/4. It has whenever a creature comes into play, it comes in with a +1/+1 counter for each cleric you control.
Mm,
This happens. This only happens once per turn because it's in blue. It's in white.
yeah. Okay.
It wants to limit it. The art is a kind of like a. It's not a guard, but it's a person sitting at the at a table with a line of commoners, people
Oh, I
waiting to
see.
be like
Get their passport stamped.
yeah, something like that, right? Like yes, yeah. And it's a long line of people in this in this hall. Um,
Okay.
and then the flavor text is papers, please. Everybody have your papers out.
Oh, okay. That's a good one. I like that. Very
Yeah,
thematic. Very thematic. You're incredibly wrong.
yeah. No, I figured. I'm gonna be real mad at myself
Is this
after I
gonna
see
make you
this card.
sad if I tell you that it's from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty?
Yeah,
Because you've
yep,
drafted that
yep,
set a
yep,
lot.
yep. A lot.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, why do I
yeah.
know this card?
I thought you would get it for sure. So Regent's Authority is one white pip for an instant. It reads
Damn it.
target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn.
Oh, that's why I
If
don't.
it's an enchantment creature or legendary creature, instead put a 1/1 counter on it and it gets +1/+1 until end of turn.
Oh, I know
It-
exactly this
the
card.
flavor text reads before her spark pulled her away again. The emperor appointed the wise light paws to guide Kamigawa in her absence.
Yeah, I definitely have seen this card.
And the artwork is like light paws, I'm 99% sure.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
cat with a hand over the heart about to say the Pledge of Allegiance with a bunch of spinning butterflies in the background.
I don't think
But
I drafted much white in
I
that
see.
set in my
I see.
defense.
Yeah, I pulled this card from my collection here, and it was from my wife's cat deck, which is why
Oh,
I pulled it
cute.
here. So there we
Love
go.
it.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for playing with us. That's a good card, question mark. I always have a good time doing that. Please direct your attention to the links in our description down below, where you will find links to everywhere we host our podcasts, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. And if you want to join our awesome Discord community, check out our Patreon in the link down below as well. Our Patreon, for only $3, you get access to our Discord community, as well as a ton of bonus additional content, including full extra podcasts. You want to hear a podcast about power balance? That's a banger. Check out our Patreon, join the $3 tier. You get access to everything. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We will see you next Monday. Bye.
Bye bye.